If you think you've seen the perfect crime, think again. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and let's dive into one of the most chilling cases you'll ever hear, because this one almost worked. It was just after midnight when the call came into the Fairview Police Department. A 911 operator picked up a trembling voice, a young woman whispering, "There's blood in my neighbor's driveway, a lot of it." Brookdale Street was the kind of place where people still left their doors unlocked. The kind of quiet, tree-lined suburban road where kids rode bikes at sunset and neighbors knew each other by name. But that night, flashing blue lights painted every window, and officers moved with a rare urgency. At the end of the cul-de-sac stood the Harper residence. A sleek two-story home with an expensive black SUV still idling in the driveway. The driver's door was open. Inside the vehicle, on the cream leather seats, were faint blood smears like someone had tried to wipe them away, but not well enough. And then they found the phone. It was unlocked. The last call was to 911, but the line had cut out after only 7 seconds. The call log said it was made at 11:42 p.m., just 20 minutes before the neighbor's report. The name on the license inside the car, Daniel Harper, age 38. Architect. Husband. Father of 2. But there was no Daniel in sight. Detective Lena Marlowe arrived minutes later. She'd been in homicide for 12 years and had learned to trust her instincts. As she surveyed the scene, something felt staged, too neat. The blood patterns were strange, concentrated near the vehicle but almost no signs of a struggle elsewhere. She walked up the driveway and spotted faint drag marks leading toward the side of the house, barely visible in the dewy grass. When her flashlight beam caught on a single item lying in the dirt, a torn cufflink engraved with the initials RH, she pocketed it silently. Inside the home, the Harpers' living room looked undisturbed. The TV was paused on a Netflix screen. 2 wine glasses sat on the coffee table, one half empty. Upstairs, the children's rooms were untouched, beds neatly made. But in the master bedroom, the air felt heavy. The bedsheets had been stripped. The mattress corner bore a faint reddish stain. And in the laundry basket, Detective Marlowe found a set of women's pajamas soaked through with what would later be confirmed as Daniel's blood. His wife, Rebecca Harper, was nowhere to be found. By dawn, the house was sealed off, and forensics began their sweep. The first theory, domestic dispute turned violent. But the problem was, no one could find a body. Neighbors described the Harpers as picture perfect. Daniel, a respected architect, Rebecca, a financial consultant working from home. Married 12 years, 2 kids in private school. But as detectives dug deeper, cracks began to show. Daniel's firm had been struggling. He'd taken out a line of credit Rebecca didn't know about. And there were whispers about a woman he'd been meeting downtown every Thursday night, about money transfers he couldn't explain. Detective Marlowe found the first major clue on Rebecca's laptop, a spreadsheet labeled Estate A Post D. Inside, she had neatly catalogued every bank account, investment, and asset the couple owned. But what caught Marlowe's eye was the timing. The file had been last edited 2 hours before Daniel vanished. It was as if Rebecca had been preparing for something. 3 days later, a hiker made a discovery 20 miles north of Fairview. Near the edge of a wooded ravine, wrapped in a top, lay the body of a man badly beaten, skull fractured, hands bound with nylon rope. It was Daniel Harper. The autopsy revealed something chilling. Daniel hadn't died immediately. He'd been struck twice, tied up, and left to suffocate. And the rope around his wrists contained traces of a household chemical used for cleaning tile grout, the same brand stocked under the Harpers' kitchen sink. When officers searched for Rebecca, they found her car abandoned at a rest stop outside the state line. Inside the glove box, her wedding ring, a burned phone, and a prepaid debit card with a $10,000 balance. For the next 72 hours, the entire state was on alert. Media headlines exploded. Suburban mother wanted in husband's murder. But the investigation took a sharp turn when Detective Marlowe reviewed nearby traffic cams. Rebecca's car had been spotted leaving the city at 2:10 a.m., but she wasn't alone. A man was driving. And in the faint reflection of a passing truck, investigators froze the frame. He was wearing a dark hoodie and a watch with a distinct gold band. The same kind found engraved with the initials RH. The cufflink. The initials. A second man. Detective Marlowe knew what that meant. Rebecca hadn't acted alone. By the end of the week, a warrant was issued for Ryan Hale, age 41, a contractor Daniel had hired 6 months earlier for a home renovation project. What the police didn't know then was that Ryan had become far more than a contractor. He was Rebecca's secret. Her lover. When detectives raided Ryan Hale's workshop, they found the remains of a burned taupe in a metal barrel, and beneath a pile of sawdust, Daniel's missing watch. But there was something else. Inside a locked drawer, they found a set of flight tickets, 2 seats, one way, booked under fake names, departing to Lisbon the following week. That's when it hit them. The life insurance. The estate file. The hidden bank transfers. Rebecca hadn't just wanted out of her marriage. She'd planned to disappear. But before the pieces could fully come together, something unexpected happened. Late that night, while officers were still cataloguing evidence, one of them called Detective Marlowe over. "You're gonna want to see this," he said. He was standing in front of Rebecca's laptop, now fully decrypted. In the video folder was a single file named Goodbye, D. It was a recorded message. Rebecca sitting in their bedroom, eyes red from crying, saying softly into the camera, "You left me no choice. By the time you see this, it'll already be done." And then she smiled, just barely. But when Marlowe looked closer at the reflection in the mirror behind Rebecca, she realized something was off. Someone else was in the room with her. A man's silhouette. And he was holding the camera. They thought she ran. They thought it was over. But Rebecca Harper wasn't gone, not yet. If you think you've figured out this case, keep watching. You're about to see how close she came to getting away with murder. 2 days after the video discovery, the FBI's fugitive task force joined the investigation. The footage proved Rebecca and Ryan had planned the murder together. But something didn't add up: the timestamps. The video was recorded 3 hours after Daniel's estimated time of death. That meant when Rebecca looked into that camera and whispered, "It's done," Daniel was already dead, and whoever filmed her was still with her in the house. Detective Lena Marlowe knew that kind of arrogance. It wasn't a mistake. It was control. Whoever was behind the camera was calling the shots. When forensic techs enhanced the reflection in the video, they confirmed what Marlowe already suspected. The man's build matched Ryan Hale, but there was something else. In the corner of the mirror, just behind Rebecca, was a second reflection. A smaller shape. A child's toy. It was their son's stuffed bear, the one missing from the bedroom. Which meant that, at some point during or after the murder, the children had been in the house. That discovery turned everything darker. Detectives immediately issued Amber Alerts and contacted every airport, motel, and border checkpoint. Rebecca's face was everywhere, on billboards, TV, and social media. The story was viral. A beautiful suburban mother turned killer. But what no one knew was that Rebecca was watching it all unfold from just 50 miles away. At a small roadside motel off Highway 29, under the name Clara Wren, Rebecca sat on a worn-out mattress scrolling through headlines on her phone. The kids were asleep beside her, unaware of the chaos their mother had unleashed. Her plan had been perfect. Or almost. She and Ryan had spent 6 months preparing. The life insurance policy, $1.2 million, would cover their new start in Portugal. Ryan, the friend of the family, had earned Daniel's trust while helping with the house renovation. He'd learned the layout, the habits, the alarm system. The night of the murder, Rebecca had slipped sleeping pills into her children's hot chocolate. Daniel had come home late from work, and that's when Ryan ambushed him in the garage. Rebecca claimed she couldn't watch. But when Ryan told her it was done, she didn't call 911. She poured herself another glass of wine and started packing. But Ryan made a mistake. He used his own truck to move the body, thinking he'd burned enough evidence to cover his tracks. He hadn't counted on the cufflink or the traffic camera reflection. Now, they were fugitives. And somewhere along the way, the partnership started to crack. At 3:15 a.m., while her children slept, Rebecca heard the door creak open. Ryan stepped inside the motel room, his jacket soaked from the rain. He looked restless, wired. "They know," he said quietly. They found the video. Rebecca froze. You told me you deleted everything. I did. He threw his phone on the bed. But you backed it up, didn't you? On your laptop. Her heart skipped. She'd done it automatically, she always backed up everything. The same file that now had every law enforcement agency in the country hunting them down. Ryan stepped closer, lowering his voice. We need to leave tonight. The kids slow us down. Rebecca shook her head. No. They come with me. They can't. His tone was final, cold in a way she hadn't heard before. That's when Rebecca realized the truth. Ryan hadn't planned on taking her, either. The tickets. 2 seats. Not 4. Ryan had never planned for a family, only a fortune. Back in Fairview, Detective Marlowe was piecing it all together. They'd traced Rebecca's debit card to a gas station in Pennsylvania. Surveillance footage showed her at the pump, glancing over her shoulder, wearing a hoodie and sunglasses. But it wasn't Rebecca's behavior that caught Marlowe's eye, it was Ryan's. In the footage, while Rebecca fueled the car, Ryan stepped aside to use a payphone. The call lasted exactly 43 seconds. When the number was traced, it led to an offshore account associated with a property in Lisbon. Someone had already wired $400,000 from Rebecca's joint account there 3 days before Daniel's body was even found. That's when Marlowe knew, the murder wasn't just about revenge or love. It was financially orchestrated, planned down to the minute. But Ryan Hale had gone off script. By the next evening, authorities located the motel. The clerk remembered the woman with 2 kids and a nervous boyfriend who paid in cash. When Marlowe and her team arrived, the room was empty, bed unmade, TV still on, blinds half open. But there were signs of struggle. A smashed lamp, blood on the carpet, and a note on the dresser, written in hurried ink. It wasn't supposed to be like this. No signatures. No names. Then, in the bathroom sink, forensic techs found a single contact lens, one that would later match Rebecca Harper's prescription. Ryan was gone. Rebecca and the kids had vanished. 2 weeks passed. The search expanded to Canada and Mexico, but nothing. Every lead went cold until a customs agent at Newark Airport flagged a passport under the name Clara Wren. It had been used exactly once, for a flight to Lisbon, Portugal. The photo? Slightly altered, but unmistakable. Rebecca Harper. Detective Marlowe's stomach twisted. She'd known it from the beginning. Rebecca was too smart, too methodical. She hadn't vanished by mistake, she'd executed a contingency plan. But there was one thing that didn't fit. The airline manifest listed only 1 adult passenger. No children. No Ryan Hale. Rebecca was flying alone. So where were they? Back in the States, a farmer outside Harrisburg called local police after finding an abandoned car in his field, a dark gray pickup truck. Inside were 2 passports, one for Ryan Hale, and one for a 10-year-old boy named Mason Harper. No signs of struggle. No bodies. Just a faint chemical smell in the back seat, the same cleaning solvent found at the Harper home. When Marlowe got the call, she felt her pulse spike. The truck, the solvent, the note, it all pointed to one terrifying possibility. Rebecca had never been Ryan's partner. She'd been setting him up. That night, Detective Marlowe reviewed the original Goodbye video again, frame by frame. This time, she noticed something new. At the very end, just as Rebecca whispered, "You left me no choice," her eyes flicked not toward the camera, but to something behind it. A clock. Its time didn't match the recording timestamp. The video hadn't been filmed after the murder. It was filmed before. Which meant Rebecca had planned every second, including Ryan's downfall. And when the motel clerk's testimony came back with one more detail, that the woman had driven away alone at dawn, Detective Marlowe understood the full picture. Rebecca Harper had executed the perfect crime. She'd eliminated her husband, set up her lover as the scapegoat, and disappeared overseas with everything she needed to start again. Almost. Because one thing was still missing. Ryan Hale. And when the first body surfaced 5 months later, washed up on the banks of a river in rural Maryland, it wasn't Rebecca's. It was his. Hands bound. Skull fractured. Just like Daniel Harper. If you've made it this far, you're in deep. Don't blink now, because this is the part of the story where everything you thought you knew flips upside down. And if you survive this twist, make sure you hit subscribe, because you'll never forget what's coming next. The discovery of Ryan Hale's body changed everything. Found snagged on a riverbank in Maryland, decomposed but identifiable by a metal implant in his left shoulder, it confirmed two things. Rebecca Harper had not only escaped, she had cleaned up the last loose end. But what truly unnerved Detective Lena Marlowe wasn't the body. It was the evidence found with it. Tucked into the pocket of Ryan's jeans was a folded sheet of paper. On it, written in the same elegant handwriting as the note from the motel room, were 4 words. You shouldn't have followed. No signature. No explanation. Just that chilling line and a lipstick print pressed beneath it. Marlowe sat alone in her office, the note under the forensic lamp, and muttered, she planned this down to her breath. Because Rebecca Harper hadn't vanished out of fear. She'd vanished out of design. Interpol issued a red notice. The U.S. Embassy in Lisbon confirmed Rebecca's entry under a falsified passport, but after that, her trail vanished again like smoke through fingers. She'd withdrawn $9,700 in cash from an ATM downtown and never used the account again. It was like she'd stepped off the map. For 6 months, silence. Then, one morning, Marlowe's inbox pinged. An email from an encrypted address. No subject line, no message, just a single attachment, a photograph. It showed a cobblestone street cafe in Porto, Portugal. Sitting at a table, wearing sunglasses and a floral scarf, was a woman who looked exactly like Rebecca Harper. Across from her sat a young boy, Mason. But what caught Marlowe's eye wasn't the pair. It was the man standing in the reflection of the cafe window, just a few feet away, watching them. It was Daniel Harper. The photo sent shockwaves through the task force. Daniel was supposed to be dead, his body had been identified, autopsied, and buried. The DNA was a confirmed match. But that face in the reflection, that sharp jawline, the distinctive birthmark on the neck, it wasn't a coincidence. Either someone had faked their death, or Rebecca had killed the wrong man. For the first time, Marlowe questioned everything she knew. She dug into the original autopsy records, requesting tissue samples from the county coroner. But the reply she received made her blood run cold. The coroner assigned to the Harper case, Dr. Stephen Miles, had resigned just a week after the autopsy. 2 months later, he'd been found dead in his apartment. Overdose. Case ruled suicide. But the kicker? The toxicology report had been filed under a false lab number. Someone had gone out of their way to bury it. Meanwhile, half a world away, in Portugal, Rebecca sat on a balcony overlooking the Atlantic, her son asleep inside. She looked peaceful, but her mind was far from it. Every night she replayed that night in Fairview, the blood, the noise, the quiet after. Ryan's voice whispering, "It's done." But she remembered something else too, the way Daniel's body had hit the ground. The way the man's ring had caught the porch light. She remembered it because it wasn't Daniel's ring. It was Ryan's. The plan had been precise. Rebecca wanted her husband dead, his betrayal, his secret debts, his affairs. But that night, when Ryan waited in the dark garage, she hadn't realized Daniel's brother, Mark Harper, had come to visit. Mark looked just like Daniel. Same height, same build. He'd borrowed Daniel's car earlier that day. When Ryan struck, he killed the wrong man. And by the time Rebecca found out, it was too late to stop. The body burned, the house staged, the escape already in motion, she knew she couldn't undo it. So she did what she always did best. She adjusted the plan. Daniel wasn't dead. He was hiding. And now, he wanted her found. In Lisbon, police raided an apartment where the photo had been taken. It was empty, toothbrushes gone, sheets stripped, the faint scent of perfume still in the air. On the kitchen counter, agents found a burner phone with only one saved number, a local account registered to a shell company called Alios Holdings. The same company connected to Daniel Harper's missing corporate funds. When Marlowe saw the connection, she realized the horrifying truth. Daniel had known about the murder plan before it happened. He'd discovered Rebecca's affair months earlier. Instead of confronting her, he'd started moving money out of their joint accounts, setting up new identities, and feeding her false trails. He'd let her believe the plan would work because he wanted to vanish too. Daniel Harper hadn't been the victim. He'd been the architect. Interpol tracked a yacht registered under Alios Holdings leaving Porto 2 days after the cafe photo was taken. Aboard were 3 passengers, a man, a woman, and a child, all traveling under false passports. Destination: Casablanca. The yacht's transponder went dark 30 miles off the coast. When the Portuguese Coast Guard reached the coordinates, they found only wreckage, life vests, scattered debris, and a child's stuffed bear floating in the foam. No bodies were ever recovered. For weeks, newspapers called it the Harper vanishing. Some believed the boat had sunk in a storm, others said it was staged, another step in their ongoing deception. But Detective Marlowe wasn't convinced either way. Because 3 months later, a small bank in Zurich flagged a dormant account suddenly reactivated under the name Clara Wren. The withdrawal amount: $1.2 million. And the security footage showed a woman wearing sunglasses, carrying a red passport, and humming softly to herself as she walked away from the counter. In her hand, she held a child's toy, a stuffed bear. That night, Marlowe sat at her desk, staring at the case file. The faces, the lies, the paper trail that led to nowhere. She whispered to herself, the perfect crime isn't the one that hides the body. It's the one that hides the truth. The Harper case was officially closed 6 months later, unsolved, unconfirmed, unresolved. But every so often, travelers across Europe would report seeing a woman who looked just like Rebecca. Sometimes in France, sometimes in Morocco, sometimes in the Alps. Always alone. Always leaving before sunrise. And the strangest detail came years later, from a fisherman in the Azores who swore he found a waterproof watch washed up on shore. Inside, engraved on the back, were 3 simple letters. IH. They called it the perfect crime. But in the end, it wasn't perfect. It was just unfinished. If you think this story was intense, you're not ready for the next one. Subscribe, because the next case might be happening right now.